Recording in progress.
Hello, 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 hello. My name is Hannah Redleaf. Full name involving all the ancestors is Hannah Hailu-Alganesh Redleaf Goldschmidt. Thank you for being here with me today. It's really good to be here with you all. It's been a long journey to get to this point, and recording content and sharing content has been something that I've been wanting to do for some time. So awesome to be starting this new adventure with anyone who joins the journey. Yesterday was also the Ethiopian New Year, September 11th, and I had a beautifully intense meeting with my ancestors in the dream world. So I know they're very present in this space. I have candles here and some tobacco. I'm currently in Tulum, Mexico, pretty far from my blood family. So this is a way that I'm celebrating the holiday by starting something new and honoring the ancestors in the process. So all that to say, Melkam Adis Ahmet. Happy Ethiopian New Year to my human family out there. Thank you for being here. I have different creative setup with videos recording. So I'll be looking back and forth at each of the recording devices. So the first video that I created was about truth. And it was a visual representation of how I see truth. I wanted to start my first videos to cover this topic because I want to emphasize that with everything that I share, I always want to preface it with inviting folks to take agency and to prioritize their own agency, to take what serves them and leave the rest. What I share is simply a perspective, simply my own understanding of truth in that moment, and that no one has a monopoly on truth, and that that's not even a possibility with truth. Particularly right now with the amount of information and content that's being proliferated, I feel like the conversation around truth is super helpful and informative. I know that it was for me when I first started my spiritual journey, and it's still my northern light, my guiding light as I take in content and as I discern what feels like something that I want to take in more of and what is a truth that I want to try on and see whether or not there is some alignment, some learning there. And so the visual video that I made, I really enjoyed the process and it was fun. It shows truth as a non-static point. I feel like this is super helpful to understand and embody, particularly as we're going into our spiritual path, as we're walking on the spiritual path, to hold our truth as a non-static point, to hold our spiritual truth, spiritual understanding with flexibility and adaptability, and essentially to hold it gently and not so rigid. The visual representation, the video, shows truth as a multidimensional field that is forever revealing itself, a infinite quantum field. Each of us, I feel like I have to move back so I can use my hands to describe everything. And so I will, and hopefully the video setup will stay as it is. So, right. Each of us occupy a specific, our own unique node in the quantum field of truth. Truth is a multidimensional, infinite quantum field that has an infinite amount of layers, an infinite amount of dimensions. Each of us have our unique point, and that node of ours is based off of the accumulation of our truths, our different truths that we are embodying or attached to. And they could be influenced by our perspective, our culture, our society, our ancestral understandings, our ancestral ties, our karmic threads, our soul contracts. And that is what the general collective mind can conceptualize in this moment, but I feel like there's probably an infinite amount of other realms, other dimensions that we may not even have the words for, that influence where each of us lies, where our node is located in this quantum field of truth. And so when our awareness expands, our node of truth also expands. It moves. It can quantum leap to a different access point. And so this concept to really sit with and embody is that truth is not isolated. It's this interactive web, and we each access it from our own position within it. With this understanding, we can trust that different perspectives can coexist because they simply are different ways of engaging with this living field. When we see truth in this way, then we walk with it with curiosity, openness, expansiveness, and acceptance. There is joy and there is compassion rather than dogma. And we use truth as a gentle northern light, as a gentle guiding force, rather than using truth as a weapon to shame, to coerce, to convince and prove hierarchy, superiority, etc. A lot of us are healing many outdated notions, many outdated beliefs, many of the programming from Western ideals that are limiting. And a lot of it is that binary thinking, and yet there's still this tendency to bring this way of seeing and being into our spiritual walk. Right now, the amount of content that is being shared is growing exponentially. And there is a lot of intensity in the air. People are discovering more things about the nature of reality and the nature of spirit and all of these wonderful, amazing things. And they're lit up, they're ignited. The fire within has been sparked. And so they're passionately sharing that with others. I feel like with this fire that's coming into society and that's activating a lot of people, that's igniting a lot of people, the air is thick with conviction. many people are discovering their own unique nodes in this multidimensional grid of truth. They are finding their truth, their resonance, and finding the information to further clarify where they stand, where they lie in this conversation around truth. With this passion, there can be this tendency to have so much conviction and be so enlivened by the truth that we're currently chewing on and embodying that we bear our claws in it and we hold it, we grip it really tightly. We're clutching so tightly that we don't allow it to reveal more. Any truth that we come across, the looser that we are with it, the more it can reveal itself, the more it can show and teach us the nuances, the subtleties, the multidimensionality of it. I personally filtered out the advice and content that I take in to come from people and teachers that share from a deeply compassionate and expansive point of view. Even when they are holding you accountable, they do it with an undertone of growth and expansion. There is expansion in their breath. There's compassion for the human soul and the understanding of human complexity and nuance. The human spirit naturally longs for freedom and naturally longs for expansion. And we naturally move towards empowerment in that freedom, in that expansion. Anytime we hear a teaching where there's an undercurrent of coercion, the spirit will naturally contract, whether it's conscious of it or not. The spirit will naturally rebel against coercion, against its freedom and being threatened. So the undercurrents that I look for in people's words, and particularly the energy behind their words, is how open is that truth? How expansive is it? How inclusive is it? Does it inspire growth or expansion? What voice is it coming from within that person? Is it coming from the Christed master, or is it coming from an unhealed part? Do I feel a sense of rigidity there? Generalizations, dogmatic thinking? Does it invoke collapse internally, dissonance within my mind? A lot of us have already woken up to choosing love over fear, and now we're being asked to level up in recognizing what love looks like in action, what the subtleties, the nuances of love actually means, and what it means on these subtle energetic realms, these subtle liminal realms. How are we feeding into the collective human experience when it comes to love in action? As a society, we're currently awakening to the truth of oneness, to seeing each other as brothers and sisters of the human family. Of course, this is oneness with integrity, with recognizing and honoring the differences and not negating any boundaries. That's not what this conversation is about. This conversation is about the fact that this awakening is healing the parts of our collective consciousness that doesn't see each other as equals in this walk of life. The part of the collective psyche that clings to division, that clings to judgments, clings to generalizations. And some of these may be shaped by past painful experiences that understandably haven't felt safe enough to embrace oneness. On the more global scene, it feels like right now is the spiritual version of COVID, the spiritual version of the election, where people were getting hooked into right or wrong, binary thinking, and getting pinned against each other about whose truth was more valid, and using these truths as weapons against each other. I feel like this division is being proliferated in the spiritual community, and we're kind of forgetting that in a way we're repeating history by allowing our attachment to liberation and whatever truth, whatever new revelation that we've come across that we're learning to wear and embody. We are using these as swords against others and inviting conflict. During COVID and the election, we saw families, loved ones disconnect from each other because of these mental concepts, because of their attachment to their political viewpoint. These attachments were separating families, separating people who had been in each other's lives for their entire life. We can hold people accountable and honor our own truth with healthy pride without bringing in the subtle undercurrents that our truth is superior to others. We can be super passionate about our revelations while understanding that other people's walks of life, regardless of how it looks, is as valid and perfect as ours. A sister, sweet dear sister, brought a question to a group of us at a gathering. She shared her frustration that the general public didn't have a general understanding of permaculture principles. She felt like if people were more interested and took the time out to study and understand permaculture principles, the world would be a better place, and a lot of the issues would be healed. And it was essentially a question of why is that not happening? To clarify here, the question was about the gathering that we were all at, and the sister was asking why there wasn't as much time and space and energy put into the permaculture area as the other areas. She was essentially asking why there wasn't as much interest in that space, and that if the people that were at the gathering were genuinely passionate about the healing of the earth and healing of humanity, why we didn't have an interest in learning the principles and sharing the principles. And she asked with genuine curiosity. It wasn't about shame and judgment, it was about really understanding this question from the perspective of the folks that were at that table. I was sharing with her that while I also agree that if the general public had more of those understandings, that the world would be a better place. And at the same time, we all have our own unique dharma and our own unique roles, our own unique studies and passion. At that table, there were people who were super passionate about art. There were dancers, there were meditation teachers, and we could all say the same thing about our field of study, that if the general public had a really deep, beautiful meditation practice, that society wouldn't be experiencing all of the problems that we have. I feel like that's true in a way. And the other sister there that is a dancer could similarly argue that if the general public had more freedom in their expression and more of a connection to their artful expression, that we would be in a better place. Of course, it'd be ideal if we as a society could just download all of the permaculture principles, all of the meditation teachings, all of the embodiment teachings, but that isn't reality right now. What is the reality is that we all have our own unique paths, and there is no right or wrong way of doing and of being. When we are super passionate and have so much conviction and have thoughts like this, I feel like we're funneling and channeling out that energy in an inverted way when it could be channeled in a beautiful way by using that passion to teach, using that passion to make the permaculture principles more accessible to people, to make it general knowledge, and to recognize that we each have our own unique perspective of truth. And despite how wonderful it is and how very truthy it is, how beautiful and resonant and whatever it is, it doesn't mean that another person's is also to embody that or live by that. There is so much passion, so much fire, so much awakening that's happening. And it's so divine, it's so perfect, it's so epic. And the invitation is to hold everything gently, to walk softly on the earth, to hold each other gently. Allow this fire, this conviction, this remembrance of your truth to be integrated into your being. Channel it appropriately, to not let the powers that be, however way you want to see that, them, to not let the powers that be use you as a tool to take these very beautiful truths and this very beautiful passion and use that as a sword towards people. Use that as another form of division. So we can hold people accountable and we can teach something new that's revolutionary while embodying a acceptance, while embodying and emitting a frequency of non-judgment and true unconditional love. When we're sharing with expectations or we're sharing with an undercurrent of superiority or an undertone of judgment, of hierarchical thinking, that is felt. And we as a whole are becoming more aware of the energetic charge that is behind people's words. To summarize, know that truth is forever changing as we individually expand. It can be super helpful to use discernment to find whether or not the content that we take in expands our spirit or expands our ego. The invitation of all of this is to hold our truth gently, to hold it gently so that we grow faster and that we expand faster, so that we allow this truth to reveal more to ourselves. And then also, the invitation is to hold our fellow human sisters and brothers gently. That's the best service that we can do, and that we can honor a perspective. We can be passionate about our truth, our opinion, while being responsible with the subtle energies that we are projecting towards others and projecting into the collective consciousness. Truths that have an undertone of love and acceptance, I feel, are the highest truths, are the truthiest of truths. I'm speaking to all of the mirrors of me within you. So thank you for your time and your presence, and may it serve you as much as it served me. Many blessings. Hey everyone. So I wanted to preface this video by sharing a bit about the day of recording this video. There is something that was in the air and is in the air of this video. And I'll give you a little bit of the background for you to tune into for yourself. So that night of the recording, the night before I recorded this, I was woken up to a dream. And it was beyond a dream because it was in the astral realms. It was a conversation with my ancestors. And it was a pretty intense dream. I was receiving a lot of information, and there was urgency to it. I'll probably share about those details at some later point. I'm still deciphering the details in learning how to put those into words. And specifically for this video, there was an urgency to see the project through in this window of time, because at that moment there was the message to wake up, and I was like, it's in the middle of the night. Are we talking about right now? And so, excuse me, it's an ongoing journey with spirit, and spirit is very patient, very patient. So I was like, so are we talking about like right now, or are we talking about like general, working up? And so I look over, and the time is 3:33. And so I knew it was about right now. And so I swung my legs over my bed and started my morning practice to make sure that I get this video done in this window of time. The day started, I had my morning practice, my very intense exercise, and various other things. By the time I was recording this video, it was pretty late into the night. And I had gone through various journeys with technology, had gone through a lot of technological difficulties. But I knew that it was important to persevere and get this video recorded. So by the time I had this recording, I had a migraine, and the next day I reviewed it, and I saw that I had really low energy, mainly due to the migraine and the very long day that it ended up being. And so the mind in me thought that I needed to re-record it. And so I re-recorded it, and then I go back into my recording files and see that half of it was not recorded. that moment of realization, that moment when I noticed that, when I saw that, there was this realization that brought me back to those moments of clarity that that day, for whatever reason, was important. So I'm not sure if even the words and the messaging that I got, that I was sharing in that video, is the most relevant thing. It feels like Spirit wants whoever is going to be going through this journey with me to experience that day, whatever is in that day. And maybe it's more so for me than it is for anyone else. But I wanted to just share that because it explains a bit about the wonder, the magic, and also about my energy levels in this video. Whatever truth that is about, I trust will reveal itself to me and to everyone that it's relevant to. Okay, big love, enjoy.